And as you're listening to these words, you may already notice the brain starts to wander, like a child following stories inside stories. And that's fine because confusion is the open door, where learning slips through unnoticed. There once was a warrior who had a magnificent sword. He trained for years, sharpened it, polished it, used it with pride, and then one day he set it down, thinking the battle was over. The sword rusted. The warrior stared at it, ashamed. He thought, what's the point of sharpening it again? Even if I do, the battle will still come. The victories will still feel empty. But the wise blacksmith appeared and laughed in his face. You fool, he said. The sword was never about victory. The sword is about you. It's the ritual of sharpening that keeps you alive. A sharp sword doesn't guarantee admiration. It guarantees readiness. Without it, you're not a warrior. With it, even in defeat, you remain sovereign. And the warrior realized sharpening was never about the world giving him love. It was about him embodying strength. And as you hear this, some part of you already knows your sword is waiting, and every push-up is a scrape of the whetstone, every drop of sweat a spark against the blade. And maybe you've heard about the man who planted a garden, not for others, but for his own nourishment. At first he thought, if the neighbours see my flowers, they'll admire me, they'll clap. He worked tirelessly, waiting for applause. But the neighbours never looked. So he stopped watering, weeds crept in. His soil dried. He grew bitter. Why should I feed a garden that no one respects? Years later, a traveller passed his yard, starving and saying, the flowers don't care if anyone claps. The fruit doesn't care if anyone praises. The point of the garden is not admiration. The point is life. And the man realized the garden was always for him. To breathe the air, eat the fruit, feel the sun. To neglect it was to suffocate himself. And you already know your body is that garden. Exercise is watering. Rest is sunlight. Movement is weeding. You don't garden for applause. You garden because if you don't, you drown in weeds. Now imagine a sports car, sleek, powerful, capable of speed that makes the earth tremble. You used to drive it. You felt the engine roar, but then one day you parked it, thinking the joyride was over. Dust gathered, battery drained, tyres flat. And you sat in the driver's seat saying, what's the point of fueling up again? No one's cheering. No one cares if this car runs. But engines don't care about applause. They care about fuel. You don't put gas in the tank for admiration. You do it so the fucking thing moves. And science agrees. Every time you move your body, oxygen floods your brain, neurochemicals fire, mitochondria multiply. Your cells scream thank you when you push them, because they were designed for this. And now the confusion clears. You never stopped being the sports car. You just stopped fueling the engine. And fueling it again, it's as simple as one drop of sweat. And isn't it funny how children, they don't ask for applause before they learn to walk. They just wobble, fall, giggle, try again. They don't cry. But what's the point? No one clapped when I stood for 2 seconds. They move, because moving feels right. And some part of you remembers being that child, when movement was joy. not transaction, when play was its own reward. And even now, you could reframe exercise not as discipline, but as play. Sweat is play. Running is play. Lifting is play. Because when you chunk it down, fitness isn't reps or sets. It's the child learning to move again. And maybe you've already glimpsed the 2 paths ahead. On one path, 5 years pass, and you're heavier, weaker, smaller inside. Every day you feel like you're shrinking. Shame thickens around you like tar. You mutter the same excuses, stacking them into a coffin you lie down in before you're dead. On the other path, 5 years pass, and each day you carved a new groove of pride. It started tiny, one walk, one push-up, one choice to stand tall. But momentum built, muscles remembered, breath returned, fire rekindled. You look in the mirror, older, yes, but sharper, stronger, radiating. The kind of man whose energy people feel before he even speaks. And you're unconscious, it's already calculating which path feels better. So notice what happens when you imagine sharpening the sword. Notice what happens when you imagine watering the garden. Notice what happens when you imagine fueling the engine. Notice what happens when you imagine playing like a child. Notice what happens when you imagine becoming the future you who chose the fire. And your unconscious mind begins to link them all together, realizing they're not separate stories. They're the same story told in different masks. Because karma doesn't punish, it teaches. Ignore your body. The karma is decay. Honor it. The karma is vitality. Don't move, your mind rots. Move, your spirit shines. This isn't philosophy, it's physics. Entropy eats what stands still. Energy grows what moves. You already know this. That's why sitting still makes you feel dead. Because you're breaking the law of the universe. Everything alive must move. And so the lesson hits. You're not failing when you stop exercising. You're stepping out of alignment with life itself. And maybe part of you is confused because you thought fitness was about admiration, love, applause. And then you realized it wasn't. And that made you stop. And stopping made you feel empty. And feeling empty made you think, see, what's the point? But here's the paradox. The very thing that felt pointless is the thing that gives life its point. Movement is meaning in motion. And when the brain is confused, it opens. And when it opens, it learns. And right now, yours is learning that sharpening the sword, watering the garden, fueling the engine, playing like a child, embodying vitality. These are the same command. Move your fucking body today. So, as these loops close, notice how the stories merge. The warrior, the gardener, the driver, the child, the future self, the karmic law. They're not separate. They're fractals of the same truth, spiraling inward. Exercise is not for applause. It's not for approval. It's not for respect. It's the ritual of reclaiming sovereignty over your life. It's sharpening, it's watering, it's fueling, it's playing, it's living. And now the sword is in your hand again. The garden is in your soil. The engine is humming. The child is giggling. The future self is waiting. And all that remains is a simple choice. One drop of sweat. One strike of the hammer. One seed planted. One push-up done. Because 5 years from now, you'll either be grateful or regretful. And your body already knows which one feels better. So rise, move, sweat, laugh, sharpen. Play, fuel. Because this life is the forge, and you were never meant to rust.